pick it up.
Sure.
Yeah, so like, so for the people.
Yeah.
All right, so, apologies, hopefully everybody at home can hear us. And welcome to the public information session regarding the Garvan Point Improvement Project. And so I'll introduce everybody here. Just so you know, this is kind of a final stage as we move forward to bid out the project. This has gone through the Board of Selectmen several times. And we want to get a lot of public feedback before we finalize the design plans and start the permitting process. So just here in the room, obviously myself, Peggy Lyons, First Selectwoman. We've got several Board of Selectmen members available online. And then we have our Director of Beach and Recreation and our Director of Public Works, who've both been very involved in overseeing the project. And then we have representatives from the engineering firm SLR, and I'll let them introduce themselves, but they've been working very hard with us and have presented a few times to the board about the design of the project. So with that, I will turn it over to your presentation, okay?
Sure.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah, do you want to start introduce that?
Yes. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'm Samantha Stewart. I'm a landscape architect working with SLR.
My name is Kishore Patel. I'm the structural engineer and the project manager for this project.
Great. And I'm Megan Raymond. I'm a wetland scientist and coastal scientist with SLR that's helping with site assessment and permitting for the project. And we'll begin the presentation. I'll move over to the lectern. Wonderful. Well, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. It's we're speaking to a live audience, obviously, and then also to the Zoom. So forgive my eye potentially wandering. Obviously, I'm going to focus on the live participants here.
It should be really loud.
Sure.
Might be,
Okay, great.
that mic is picking it up.
Perfect. So we'll speak
Yep.
loudly. So
Yep.
we're going to give an overview tonight of the project, focusing on the Garvan Point Improvement Project. Introduce the project, the site, the goals and the objectives of the work at Garvan Point. Moving into project enhancements, we're going to go through the concepts that we evaluated in landing on our design, a preferred design that we have to present this evening. We'll get into some of the structural components of the actual design of the point, which was the impetus to advance this work. And then we'll get into the timeline for these activities and finalize the evening with questions and feedback from the public. And again, we're really pleased to be here tonight, and thanks a lot for coming out. We can all imagine kind of a warm summer night when we look at some of these pictures. So our project team, we just introduced the folks that are in the room. We have Kishore Patel, who's the project manager and a structural engineer. Mike Doherty and Sam Stewart are the project landscape architects. Nirdash Patel works with Kishore as a structural designer, structural engineer, and then I am Megan Raymond as a scientist on the project. We'd like to start by just kind of focusing in on what we're looking at. Obviously, you know this area really well. It's your surf club. It's a wonderful town asset, a focal point for a lot of recreation and just experiences with your family and just wonderful evenings and daytimes out on the beach and on the point. The actual project area is focused on Garvan Point itself, which is the area that's outlined in orange. And this is the point that protrudes out into the sound. As you look seaward, you have your rocky shorefront, that outcrop that exists just off Garvan Point. But focused up onto the shore, we have the point, which is an area that is fortified and supported with steel sheeting, capped with timber. And that transitions into concrete seawalls or retaining walls that extend along the flanks of the wall. But the focus is the actual point itself and the areas immediately adjacent to this feature. When we look at this, when we get into projects like this, it's really important to understand the landscape position of where we're sitting and our regulatory jurisdiction limits, as well as our coastal resources. All of these areas that exist on the shoreline are protected by our state. As you move seaward, the actual water and some of the intertidal areas protected in addition to the state by the federal entities of the Army Corps, but all of the coastal resources that exist on the shore, which are even the coastal high hazard, the coastal flood hazard areas, which are the flood zones. We have the beach that is adjacent to the point. We have rocky shorefront that's adjacent to the point itself, just off of the tip of Garvan Point. All of these areas have inherent protections because of the functions and values that they provide to our shoreline. And inherent to this, and a really strong focal point of all of our coastal management tenants, is public access, public engagement, and introducing and allowing public experiences in these points because it allows for stewardship and connection of these resources generationally. So just one quick thing back
Yeah.
to that slide.
Sorry.
The other part of this is when we look at the work that we want to do here, which is actually both improvements architecturally, landscape architecturally on the point, we also have structural elements that we need to address on the actual the outer edge of Garvan Point with the bulkhead. We need to understand what kind of regulatory permits that we need to adhere to and that we need to provide, and those typically are going to follow what's called the coastal jurisdiction line, which is a very low elevation here. It's at elevation 3.7 in seaward. And that's when we go to the state and to the Army Corps for authorizations for this work. So all of these things are baked into timeframes, into concepts, into kind of looking at this from a regulatory perspective, because it's important to have a project that's permittable, feasible, and then obviously buildable. So when we get into, we're kind of getting ahead a little bit, but it's an important point to point out here. We will need a number of authorizations with this from the state and the Army Corps, with the self-verification, with the general permit 2 for existing structures on the coastline. And then we're looking to go through deep with the certificate of permission. And to get to this point, to speak with you this evening, we have engaged these regulators in pre-application meetings, let them know what's coming so we can plan accordingly down the road. So we can go to the next slide. So you can see that our project team is really, it's comprehensive. We have a very kind of the Venn diagram of project entities with structural engineering, landscape architecture, and science. So when the three of us go out to a site like this, we all look and focus on different elements. Obviously, Keyshore is going to be really focused on the structural integrity of Garvan Point itself, of that steel sheeting, the timber bulkhead, the consistent wave action, and all of those variables that are required to maintain that structural inherent structural capacity of Garvan Point. But as Mike and Sam look at the point, they kind of notice the benches, maybe some areas that are difficult to maintain with lawn because they get continual overwash. There's some undercutting and kind of backwash behind the wall that's allowed for some soft spots back on the landward edge of the wall. And so we all kind of come together with our visions that are then driven by the landscape architects to kind of realize a project that will be true to the function of this area as a really important town asset, but then provide some resiliency and ease of maintenance as we move down the road with maybe increased storms, rising seas, and all these elements we want to kind of include in our eventual design. So we'll just have a few more site pictures. So this is obviously a very important and kind of, again, jump-started the deed for the project, was just the condition of the structural condition of the wall that Keisha will speak to later. And these images are just of the actual interface between the upland environment, the steel sheeting, the timber cap, and then you have obviously your riprap toe protection that bounds the southern edge of Garvan Point. So again, we're looking at this with some very strong project goals that we're coordinating with the town on. And again, we've engaged with Board of Selectmen and other town staff through this whole process, but really preserve and enhance the point. We want to improve the structural stability and provide protection in moving down the road into the future. We want to preserve and enhance all the views and the viewports along this area. We would like to reduce the maintenance of those areas, particularly right behind the backside of the wall. And then we want to embrace people and the point's natural appeal. Just again, like enhance the natural assets that exist here and work in coordination with you all to put this forward. And now what's going to happen in the presentation is Sam's going to speak about some of the landscape architecture concepts, and then Kishore will describe the structural elements of the design as well. And again, we're all here for questions at the end. Thank you so much.
My name's Sam. I'm going to be going over the concept of this project. So just to orient you, this first slide is just showing the existing conditions aerial. You go on to the next one. So this is just showing the overall master plan concept. As you can see, the majority of the existing lawn is being preserved. This concept is actually only going to be impacting about 18% of the point. You can see I'm actually gonna just come down here so I can point to this as well for you. So this dark gray line is showing the proposed structural wall. And so this wall is gonna be at elevation 10.7, which is SLR's 2050 elevation. And then just behind that, we're gonna be proposing decking. So as Megan mentioned, that there is maintenance issues and existing scouring happening behind the wall with the ground and the lawn behind the current wall. So this we're hoping will mitigate that issue. It's also going to act as a nice visual cue as well. So if you're walking along the point, maybe you're distracted by the views, you'll notice decking along here. It'll kind of warn you that a drop is coming and to kind of look out for that. It also is going to act like a nice boardwalk, so you can be able to walk along that or bring chairs up, sit down and enjoy the view. If you go down to the next slide, this is just going to zoom in to the two main elements of the concept. So the first one is going to be the overlook deck. So this is going to be made up of the same decking material. It's going to be at the primary point of the point. It's going to be, the pinnacle, the nice view space. So this is going to be a great gathering space for people. It's going to have a serpentine sculptural seat wall that's going to kind of back along the edge of the decking. And then there's going to be a backdrop of native coastal grasses. So this is going to be a plant mound that's going to be only a couple feet tall, including the grasses. We're thinking maybe a little blue stem, which is that first picture, kind of the more bluey grass. And then the third one being American beach grass. And both of those should be less than 36 inches in height, so it won't block any views. The next element is the terrace seating area, so that this is going to really help improve the access between the lawn and the beach. And it's also going to provide more seating with the terrace seating area. So if you want to go to the next slide. So this is just showing a couple of perspectives, just what this would look like in person. So the first perspective is if you're standing on the beach, looking north towards the, the forested area and the parking area. So as you can see that flanking kind of this area are the native coastal grasses that are going to be sitting on top of the structural wall. That also is going to be at, as mentioned, the elevation 10.7, and then kind of nestled between the two is going to be first the more traditional stairs, which is going to act as the direct beach access, since that those will be much easier to step down. That's also going to have a handrail as well, and then adjacent to that is going to be the terrace seating area. So there's going to be about 5 or 6 levels, each one at about 2 feet in height. So it'll be nice and comfortable to sit on. You can lean your back up against the other steps. It's also going to have this nice undulating feature to kind of mimic the waves and the organic nature of the site. The next perspective is showing from the top of the lawn, looking out towards the east and the water. So as you can see, the grasses are kind of creating this really nice frame around the ocean and creating this really nice view. And the proposed seating element is really sunken into the ground, so it's really not impacting any of the views, but it's providing so much, space and life and opportunities to sit and enjoy those views. Next slide. And the third one's also from the top, but looking more south towards the rocky point. As you can see, you can really see how you can be sitting in this spot. You can pivot your head back and forth. You can watch your kids playing on the beach, but then you can look, maybe the rest of the family's out on the lawn having a picnic. So it really helps enhance the visibility out here. And also you can imagine sitting here, enjoying the fireworks as well. The next slide. So back to the overlook deck. So this is just, we have a series of sections just to show what those conditions look like. So the first one, section A, is cut through the more narrow portion of the deck. So this is kind of the travel point getting up to the overlook. So this is showing in the section condition that there would be that about 2 foot tall seat wall that you can sit on. And then it's gonna have that nice backdrop of the planting just behind, and in front of it is the decking, and as you can see, there's more than enough room for people to travel while people are sitting on that seat wall. And then since the decking is a little bit lower, about maybe half a foot to the top of the structural wall, this creates a little lip there, so it's kind of almost like a curve, so it's almost like a safety buffer for people walking along that edge. And the next slide. So this one is cutting through the main overlook. So this is, as you can see, it's pretty spacious. It's about 25 feet in diameter. It still has a very similar sitting seat condition with the plants, but then also, provides a lot more room for gathering opportunities. You can have, bird watching groups come here. You can have prom photos taken here, wedding photos. Also, there's a really neat condition here too, since it's this elevation at the top of the decking is at 10.7. So this is matching kind of flush to the top of the structural wall. So you can actually sit on the edge here if you want to and kind of dangle your feet off the edge. And we do want to, look at the height difference between the top of the wall and the boulder revetment to make sure that that's less than 24 inches, since anything more than that can be an issue with fall. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kishore to explain a little bit more about the technical side of the wall.
Thank you, Sam. Obviously, the girls took all the thunder. I get the boring part. Most people are not interested in the structural element of it. They want to see what it's going to look like. But the main reason why we're here today is because the existing structural wall, or the bulkhead, whatever you want to call it, it's a sheet piling wall, which has deteriorated over the years. And we have done an inspection of it. There's a lot of section loss, and that's why you've been seeing a lot of the sinkholes behind it and things like that. And so the maintenance group has been working on it. Every storm they have, they usually get a sinkhole or more material leaves that spot and everything like that. So that's the main reason why we're trying to look at this point and make sure that you don't lose the point in the future. So what we're going to do is actually leave the existing sheet piling bulkhead in place. By permit, we're allowed to go 18 inches in front of it, and we're going to create another wall in front of it. So that will be our water control. So that'll save some money. So we're going to go in front of it, and with a new concrete cap, as Sam showed, and then the additional walks in the back. So in the future, when it does overtop, that we don't have that scouring issue in the back, and then we don't have those scour holes. So it's less maintenance for your maintenance group and everything like that. So that's the main goal for that. There is a portion of it that's concrete. So 280 linear feet is actually the bulkhead. And then the next portion is about another 300 feet of concrete seawall. But there was a section in the last storm that kind of got deflected and it kind of sunk a little bit. So we're going to replace that portion of it with the sheeting also, and go to about 370 linear feet of that. So we're going to fix about 370 feet of it. And so at the same time, obviously, we thought about the point and everything. So that's why we have the landscape architect features into it, so just to enhance the project. So I talked about it a little bit here, but there you can see the sheeting, the brown rusty color. That's the structural steel wall right now with a timber cap on it. And right next to it, you can see the gray color, that's the concrete connection to it. And that kind of goes to the corner and then continues all the way all along the beach, actually. So what we're gonna do, as you can see on one of the one on the right-hand top over there, you can kind of see the existing sheeting that's behind it, and we're coming in with a new sheeting in front of it, and then do the tie back, and then place a concrete cap on it, and then we'll have a concrete walk, but then we'll actually face it with timber on top of it, just for, it'll just look better. So that's the idea, and that's the goal. Just, yeah, so kind of just going back to the timeline, you know, as Megan mentioned, you know, we're pretty much complete with the 60% permit plans. And she has mostly filled out all the applications. Obviously, we've already had some meetings with them and they're ready for that application. So we wanted to have this meeting before we submit that. And so we're gonna submit that end of next week, most likely, and hopefully we'll probably get our permits back by end of April or, you know, somewhere in May. And then we'll finalize our plans, and then we're supposed to bid this project in early June, so we can construct this over the winter, so that you don't lose, you know, your summer months of the point. So that's the goal, so that we would be done and you would have this open again by 1st of April again next year. So that's our goal. I think that's it we have for now. We'll open it up to any questions that you guys have, and we'll try to answer them.
So I thought maybe we have some people here in the room, so we could take questions first here, and then we'll go to anybody online. Raise your hand online if you have a question. So I guess we'll start here in the room. Anybody have any questions about the design or the project? Yeah, please just state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Rob Sonicson. What's the treatment of the western side of I caught everything going down toward the surf club building, but I was wondering about what's now kind of a low sheet pile wall on the western side that separates the sailing part of the beach with the point.
So we're doing the same treatment is going all along there. So we're facing that all the way to the end of the sheet piling. So we're gonna connect the new wall and have a new cap on it all the way through.
Okay, and the height of that portion of the wall?
That'll stay pretty much the same as what it is existing, right? Yes, yeah.
Okay, because I know that wall you can almost, you know, jump off of.
Yeah, exactly.
The beach.
Yep.
It's close by, and a lot of people do walk up
Back and
and
forth.
back and go to
Yeah.
their sailfish and all of that.
Okay, and I do, if I recall, there is almost like a staircase at the end, right?
There is. It's kind of there's a trail over there.
Yeah.
And
I believe that's gone.
the trail's gone?
No, the stairs.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Last
stairs
summer it was
The
gone.
stairs were washed away.
Washed
in the
away,
storms.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because a while back I did.
Yeah,
see
but
No stairs.
and that's the walkway down, and I think that if you don't have something formalized there, it's
Yeah.
gonna erode, things like that, so.
Yeah, so no, we're still gonna have that. I think we're still, you know, we still have the sheet piling in front of it. We're repairing the whole thing and we'll have a nice cap on it, so you should be able to walk down on top of it again, so.
Because a lot of people do come from the
Yeah,
upland
yeah.
and walk down to that portion. That's a fairly substantial portion of beach there.
It's nice
Right,
beach.
it is a nice beach, yeah.
It's kind of quieter than,
Mhm.
thanks.
Any more questions here in the room? No?
You taking comments as well, or?
Yeah, comments, questions, yeah,
Questions,
yeah.
yeah,
Go-
okay.
Yep,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
so go
and
ahead.
First, Alex Province, 917 Boston Post Road. First and foremost, thank you, Peggy, for getting the funds to do this. This is always great to see, and I'm optimistic overall for the project. But I've been following this along when it was presented to the Board of Select People. And when I saw the design, a few things had come up. So overall, I love the project and I hope it gets done. But that weird terrace seating just sort of has a few issues that I see, and I'll run through them and you guys can negate them or whatever. But it seems like it's going to be a difficult build just because of its odd shape that trying to explain to a contractor, like this is how we want these curvy sort of, I can just see sort of that adding expense versus something that's more geometric. Two, I think it's an experimental design, right? We haven't built something in that location with that shape. So how is it going to handle waves, storms, freezing, thawing, algae growth? Three, and probably the biggest, is liability. It's a staircase next to terrace seating. So a little toddler running or someone not paying attention or someone with, eyesight issues might think it's a staircase when it really isn't. Compound that with, slippery sea growth or whatever that may happen. It seems like it's a liability for the town. The fourth, and this is personal, it's a weird shape for me and not in keeping with the rest of the things at the surf club, which happen to be more traditional and cedar, shingle, white trim. It's pretty contemporary for that space. Vandalism, not much we can do, but I just wonder if it'll be a place that gets tagged or after hours. Seating faces faces west when fireworks are to the east. So when you're sat there, you're sort of facing the staircase and the lawn, which I can appreciate that, but it seems like you'd want to be facing, the fireworks are going to be behind you to that point. And then finally, and this is, not me, but fiscally conservative people are going to question why we spent more money on something like this when I'm sure there's other projects associated with it that could use the funds if the design were simplified or turn into like an what I was thinking, if you were going to go that route, something that's more like an art installation that has something your mind can grab and say, oh, this is a scallop shell or this is something else. But and then final is separate. But will we be able to get underneath the decking, and what would the decking be made of for inspections of the land side of the wall?
Deck.
So the decking that you're going to walk on.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that-
So that's just concrete and then just placed with boards on it.
What
So
are the
there's-
boards?
yeah,
The
There
question-
won't, they'll be right on the concrete actually.
So it's all concrete, so
Concrete,
no real reason to get underneath there to inspect.
No, yeah, exactly.
Well, overall, fantastic, and thank you for everyone's hard work, and it'd be great to see you next year.
Yeah, I can address some of the things if you would like. So I guess with the liability portion of it. Yeah, so we have like a specific part of the design from the top view. I forgot to mention it, it's gonna be about a foot up here. That's gonna be raised, that's gonna include the top portion, so it's gonna kind of, act as that similar sort of curve, so no one will be able to run. They'd have to step up first in order to do that, and then hopefully that would funnel people to the actual steps. So there's that portion, and then that's why we also have the grasses here to, again, funnel people towards the stairs and not go kind of right off the side. So we have that, and then I guess for the shape portion, so for constructability, most likely it would be a poured concrete. So if we, give a contractor the correct radii and whatnot, we do shapes like that a lot.
Yeah.
And
We haven't seen an issue with
yeah.
that kind of, as long as it's poured concrete, it should be fine. If it was like blocks and things like that, it would be difficult to get those angles and all that, the shape. But with poured concrete, they can take the ply and curve it and stuff like that. So it should be very good. And even the splash zone, like with the concrete itself splashing on it, and we'll put some additives on it so that it doesn't get abrasive and all that. And we'll also put some slipperiness factors into it and all that too. So we can't guarantee that it's never going to be slippery, but like you say, there might be some algae growth or something like that if we don't maintain it either. So.
But one point to that point, we did look at a couple of different
locations for potential stairs. Because again, it was like creating the connection between the point and the beach. And where the stairs and that feature wound up is not in an area that's intertidal. It's above the coastal jurisdiction line. So at least right now. So we're starting out from a good position in that regard.
Yeah, and this was discussed quite a bit if you attended the board meetings, and I think I can give you my personal opinion of where I thought it unites the point with the beach and to somebody with little kids. Right now, there's just a drop off, and so if you have young children, you had to try to run all the way down to those stairs that sometimes were functioning and sometimes weren't, and kind of were stairs to nowhere. I know a lot of people would comment, but that because they're tidal, right? Whether or not they're, depending on what happens with the beach erosion. So the stairs that are there are not really safe or really, well, I shouldn't say they're not safe, but they're not really, functioning the way they're supposed to be functioning. And so this was kind of a way to try to unite the point more with the beach because it created this, easier access, and it's wide open and it's gradual down to the beach. So I think we saw that as a positive. And I think the other piece was that's a problem area that we're seeing in that corner, right? Structurally, and we've had some problems with the existing wall there. So this was kind of killing two birds with one stone. It's giving structural strength to this very vulnerable corner. And then also rather than just having ugly sheet piling there and a drop off, we now have more of a functional thing. So that was kind of the thinking behind that. That I don't, I can understand it might look a little odd in that, but I don't know. I saw it as more kind of blending in with the corner, which is, I'm guessing design wise, why you did that, right? You were trying to make it blend in versus having sharp angles, things like that. So
You've done your homework. All right.
Yeah. So, but no, all good points. That's why we have this. So I think I appreciate you sharing that. If there's no more any comments in the room, we can move to the.
Quick question,
sure.
Mary Patricia Nardino. Do we have ADA concerns with this build? Are the walkways ramped? It's gonna be wide enough maybe for somebody who uses a wheelchair or a stroller?
Yep, so the decking portion, I believe, is 6 feet wide, or 5 to 6 feet wide, so that should be more than enough for a wheelchair. And it is where it ramps from the narrow portion of the overlook up to the wider portion. I believe it's 2% or less, so it won't be too steep there.
So I have a few hands raised on it, so hopefully I have never done this from this before. So this will be an experiment, so give me a second.
There's comments out on this as well.
That's what, are there? Well, first I'm gonna go to the hands raised. So
Yep.
this is Ruby Yeager. I'm gonna allow you to talk. And so if you unmute yourself, Barbara.
Yep, I'm
Okay.
unmuted.
All right, great. So you're up now, and if you want to share your comment, you are online now.
Okay, I'm Barbara Yeager at 205 River Road. And I'm also a landscape architect, so I really do appreciate this design. I do have concerns about the teaching seating, or terrace seating. I'm sorry, I couldn't see it. I'm small on my phone. Yeah, I realize it can be done. I worry about cost. We are a pretty conservative town. I mean, I love the design. But otherwise, I'm really happy to see the town moving in this kind of direction and considering, rather than just putting up a wall, doing more to the wall and enhancing it and creating spaces for better enjoyment of that area. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Heather Crawford now, I'm going to elevate you to panelist. And Heather, you are now able to speak. Barbara, I don't know how to take you away from me. But Heather, can you hear us? Oh no. No, Heather dropped off. Okay.
No, I didn't drop off. I didn't drop off. There I am.
Heather.
I just had to figure out where the unmute button was. So, thank you. I'm really excited about this project. I think it looks great. My concern from the coastal resources point of view is that when I was looking at the side views, it appears that the wall's going straight up and then the cap is coming off at a perpendicular angle. And I realize that's going to be the most cost-effective way to do that, but I'm wondering if a slightly more sloping wall with the curve for what they're doing now for wave attenuation would be really valuable in this area, considering all the waves that smack on it most of the time. Yeah, with where that back one just there where the gentleman was sitting with his legs over the edge.
Go back to
That one, yeah. So my thing is, I'm looking at that and going, it's very vertical, and where there's going to be you're going to have armoring in front of it, but there's still I think there would be value in I'm waving my arms and you can't see me in not having the 90-degree in that lip off. It could be either more angled or curved in some way.
Yeah.
I think like having the wall kind of have a banner to it or.
So in current a lot of the current walls that they're building, and I've just recently been at a couple of workshops about this, the seawalls are no longer straight up and down. There's just a very slight angle towards the shoreline, and then there's a curve at the top. So the wave, when the wave comes up and breaks on it, it actually sends it back out into the water rather than breaking straight up and going over the top.
Right. Should we, it's just, can you hear us when we speak?
Yes, yes, I can.
Great. So, hi, it's Megan Raymond. I think that's an interesting point, Heather, and we definitely, that is for new, we go through a lot of alternative analysis when we look at features such as this. In this particular case, given the permit that we're sliding under with the COP and the latitude to go 18 inches seaward, we're not going to be looking at angling the wall because it would be needing to cut back into the upland. But this area is also mitigated by the stone that's in the face of it, and that basically creates that angle in and of itself. And that little lip where the fellow or the individual is sitting over the top, that little edge out that kind of looks like a hammer or a T. That's so minor and that little feature is not going to create a refraction or kind of a modification to the wave splash zone in and of itself. So we're looking to mitigate or just kind of do exactly what you're speaking of, but with the stone that lies on the seaward face.
Okay. I suspected that might be it, but I just wanted to confirm that had truly been considered.
No, really good question. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Next person, hand is raised. It's Bert Rose. So I'm going to promote you to a panelist, Bert. And Bert, can you pop up here? Bert, are you on with us? There you go. Great. Go ahead, Bert.
Hello.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to know how much is this going to cost?
It's funny, I don't have the figures, but we have a budget for this. Is it $1.5 million?
It's 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5 million, and roughly 770,000 is through a state grant, and the remaining is through the town CIP project. This has been in CIP for 7 or 8 years, or probably 10 years, I think. So we're grateful to get the state grant because the cost on this project obviously went up quite a bit over the last 10 years. But it is budgeted. It's been.
I've been going to the beach for a number of years, and I personally don't think the deck is necessary. And I think you put in those grasses, and those grasses spread very rapidly, and who's going to take care of those? And is this going to come to a vote, for the voters to approve this before it's enacted?
So the process is the project was approved through the CIP committee as well as the voters through the annual budgeting process, and the Board of Selectmen will be really kind of finalizing it's really the town now that finalizes the project design. So the budget's been set. And so, once we go out to bid, different things are going to be itemized in that bidding process. So if there's things that, if things come in over the budget, then we would remove certain elements of the design based on priorities. The most important thing is
the wall.
protecting Garvan Point, right?
Yeah,
So
it's-
that's the goal.
Yeah, it's the wall.
Yeah, I think replacing the seawall is fine, but I think the rest of it is just not needed. That's my opinion.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, let me see. I don't see any other hands raised. And with that, I guess I can't see the chats on here, so I've just never run a meeting through this panel, so I apologize. But oh wait, chats. Here we go. I don't see anybody in the chats either.
Want me to read them? Well, Bert was most of them, Peggy.
Oh, okay, because I'm looking at chat though, and it doesn't show anything. On
Yeah,
this.
Joan had one question. I have no question, but a request. Please ensure that the start of the project is after Labor Day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That is,
Yes.
absolutely.
Everything else was Bert.
Okay, all right, so, so with that, then, I'll just go in
Yeah.
one more time here.
Do we have one more?
A woman just raised her hand, I
Amanda, I
guess.
think.
Deirdre Horton.
Just looking here, attendees, Deirdre Hort. Okay, Deirdre, I'm going to elevate you to a panelist. And hopefully you can allow you to talk. Okay, Deirdre.
Hi, I just had a couple of quick questions. The stairway between the point and the sailing beach, is that going to be addressed, or is that just going to be as it was after it walked out or it washed out? And the the other question is that terrace area going to be big enough? It doesn't look like very many people can really hang out there. So those are my questions, and you can answer as however. Thank you.
I'll take the first one. So the stairs that you're referencing are not part of the project, but will be considered by Beach and Recreation and our Buildings and Grounds crew to replace on our own during the project.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can take the second question, if you want to go to an image of the terrace area. One of the perspectives. Yeah. So I think it may be a bit crowded, but I can see you can probably get 20 people comfortably. We did want to be sensitive with not taking up too much of the point, since that was a large concern for a lot of people. So that's why we wanted to kind of keep it minimal in size.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just another enhancement and opportunity for people to use the point. And then occasionally, for classes and things like that, kids can gather around and sit there when they're doing things at the beach.
Yeah, and plus we couldn't really construct on the beach side because of permitting issues.
Right.
So that's why we didn't want to take too much space from the point itself. That's why we came up with this solution.
And also to get, a stairway and build structure in that corner.
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thank you.
I think that leads us to the end. Let me just, getting good at this now. Can we usually have a motion to do this? All right, well, it looks like just want to give out one last opportunity. Any hands raised here in person? No more questions. And then it doesn't look like anybody online. So the presentation will be available on the website. I think we'll do a quick discussion at our Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday night, just to say, yeah, go ahead and, with the permitting process. So if other people have more comments, they can share that to the Board of Selectmen on Monday night at our Monday night meeting.
One last question.
Yeah. Sure.
In reference to the steps, if there happen to be extra money, does it make sense to get a permit now to put in a little staircase at that spot so that should concrete trucks be pouring and it worked out? I mean, that would be the ideal time to do it if there were a little bit of.
On the west side, you're
Yeah.
saying?
On the west
Oh,
side.
You're talking about to the sailboat beach?
Yeah, just if there are, I mean, you may want to.
Yeah, I love that, Alex.
And it's a cherry on top if.
Okay,
there
well, that-
is.
Yeah, amen, amen.
It depends, we'd have to look at the elevation. I mean, you've had a stairway in the past, so it's
Right.
probably, depends on what you want it to look like. If you want it to be poured concrete out onto the
Yeah.
beach, then but we could take a look at the, it'd be almost more for something like in the bid package to see.
Yeah, I think the cost of that's gonna be minimal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But that would be the time to do
Yeah.
it.
That's true.
It would complete the project too. That I agree.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The only question I have for that is, do we have a right-of-way issue there or no? I don't remember.
It's farther
But,
west.
okay, so we should be good? Yeah, okay.
That's a good point.
Right on the side is the house on Route 1.
Oh, is it? Yeah, okay. No, I was like, what? Didn't know about that. Okay, great. No, that's a good idea. So maybe we can put something in terms of,
Yep.
I
we
guess,
can
an
do that.
ad alternate or whatever.
Yeah, that's gonna
if
be
there's
part of
funding.
our other things
Yeah,
anyways,
right.
because, you
A
know,
list of all.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, with that then, I guess, I don't know if any board members want to make any comments or, otherwise I think we're ready to end the, information session. No? Hopefully, did I know everybody to speak?
We're quiet.
Okay.
okay,
We've seen this a couple times.
But thank you for coming out tonight.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate
Thanks.
everybody joining us and thank you for
Thank
the
you.
design.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
So-
very much.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.